Well, it was on Valentine's Day that Kylie and I were on our third date, and the date was off to a great start. We were on our way to Pizzeria Locale in downtown Boulder, and nearly got into two accidents. There's like those median roads in downtown Boulder where you have to like look this way, that there's a median, and I was a little distracted, and there's a stick shift, and I was like, and I drive, and the car's right there screeching on their brakes, like Kylie kind of yelps, and I was like, sorry, and then we go past the median, and guess what? There's a car on the other side, also going, screeches on their brakes. Kylie yelps again. And I was like, okay, we'll make it there. We made it there in one piece, and we got to Pizzeria Locale. And Elijah Crespi, for anybody who knows the Crespis in here, Elijah Crespi was our waiter, and it was just a really great date. And I was kind of feeling something over the course of this date where I was like, wait, I really like this girl, and I want to go from just like maybe going on a date with her to like actually dating her, like being in a relationship with her. And so after the date, we were kind of walking around in February in the evening in Colorado. Like, it was freezing. And yet I was like, Kylie, here's the truth. I like you a lot, and I don't want to just like go on dates with you. I want to like start dating you. Like, I'd like you to be my girlfriend. And it was kind of like a strange, moment, but she was like, okay, that sounds great. And so tonight, I want to spend some time in our final talk on this series sharing with you all just a couple anchors, a couple truths to keep in mind for whenever that moment might come in your life. Maybe it's right now, maybe it's one day in the future, where you go from like talking to somebody, maybe going on a date with somebody or a couple or whatever that looks like in our world today, to actually like being in a relationship with them, like being exclusive, dating them. I want to give you a couple of encouragements, a couple truths, a couple anchors to hold on to. And there's like a lot of things to keep in mind, right, when you're dating, but we're just going to really focus on one here. But real quick off the rip, before we focus on that one, when you're dating somebody, like in a relationship with them, continue to have fun. Continue to go on dates. Like, dating should be fun. And if you were here a few weeks ago now, when we did week 4 of this series, I talked about, hey, if you want to navigate dating with joy, and with, even if you might say, success, then maybe the best thing you can do is figure out who God is in your life and allow Him to form you and to shape you through His Word and through prayer, spending time with Him, and of course through community and mentors and key people in your life. So do all that when you're still dating. Like, still be a friend to other people. Have people in your life. Be in community. It's always a red flag to me when somebody starts dating and they like drop off the map. Like, all that's true. Lean into that. Lean into community. But tonight, I just want to encourage you in one aspect. When you're in a relationship with somebody, just want to focus on one thing. And as we talk about this one thing, there might be something that like hits you and you're like, whoa, that actually kind of makes sense. And there might be something that you're curious about more, that you question, or maybe you're like, I don't know, like how that sits. That's all okay. It's meant to create conversation. So here we go. Let's get into it. Here's the one thing tonight. When I asked Kylie to be my girlfriend, I did so, with this like truth that I really believe is a truth. In my mind, I was like, okay, even though I might start dating her, both her and me, we are both still single. And once she said yes, I was like, even though we are now dating, we are both single. Or said another way is, even when you are dating someone, you are still single, which feels like a contradiction. And I actually put this question in the survey, and I asked you all, and it was like a perfect Pac-Man thing where I said, if you're dating someone, you are still single, agree or disagree. And understandably, like I'm with you, and we'll explain it. We'll unpack this a bit. But like basically everybody was hard disagree. which makes, sense. And then one person was like, agree. And I'm like, I want to know who that person is. Because without context, it's like a little bit of a concerning answer. You know what I mean? And then a couple of people disagree. So let me explain this. Because whenever you enter that stage where maybe you're dating somebody, this truth has actually brought about a lot of freedom. It's taken off the pressure. It's helped me know who I am in this process, this stage of dating. And so we have to go back to the beginning. And luckily, we started the whole talk here, so we don't have to spend tons of time here. But if you remember, or if you don't, way back in the beginning in Genesis, this statement starts to make sense. Even when you're dating someone, you're still single. We learn in the very first book of the entire Bible, Genesis 1, God says this in Genesis 1:27. He says, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created us, male and female, he created us. We were made for God, for relationship with him, to know him and to live that out in our world. And then the next thing that happens in Genesis 2 is what? What happens with Adam and Eve? Oh my goodness. What happens with Adam and Eve in Genesis 2? Probably a lot of things, right? But God walks Eve down the aisle, and this thing that God dreams up and creates, he created marriage. The institution of marriage was created by the God of the universe. We see that in Genesis 2, and God gives Eve to Adam, and they become one flesh. Their full lives merge, and they get married. Why am I bringing this up again? Because we see here two categories. Adam was made and he was single, like it was just him. And then the other category we see is marriage, like this full covenant level union between two people. There's no like middle category recognized here, where it's not like God's like, well, Genesis 1.5 and like unto Adam, and Eve, and they like walk down in the garden on their first date or whatever it might be. I get like Genesis is read in a lot of different ways, not trying to read too much into it today, but here's what I'm trying to say. We don't really see this middle process of dating throughout history at all, and the Bible included. We see some arranged marriage, which if we had more time, it's actually really interesting to dig into that. Think of like Isaac and Rebekah in the Bible. You see this stage of engagement that's like an actual official thing in the biblical narrative and throughout history, where you like needed to go to court to actually break that, but you don't see dating. There's these two big categories that God like endorses in the sense of like, hey, you are single. There's a stage in your life where you and your identity are single. And then when you marry someone and enter into a covenant level relationship where your full lives are merged, you're in this stage of marriage. But what about all of this in between? It can be really confusing, especially for people trying to follow Jesus, right? Because in our culture today, you still go from singleness to marriage predominantly. And our world today uses dating as the process of evaluation and time and relationship potential to move from singleness slowly to married one day. But dating's like this in between. You're not married, but you're not single, and there's a lot to figure out. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? They're like, so think about it another way, this way. Even when you're dating somebody and you have that really hard conversation or text, and you like break up with them, don't text. Have the conversation. Or is it even okay to call? Like if you've been dating somebody, can you call and break up? I don't think you can. You know what I mean? Can you write a letter and send it in the mail? Okay. They're like, people are like, I don't even know how to do that. Like ChatGPT, how do I mail a letter? Oh, hi. I'm just kidding. Okay. Oh, gentlemen, welcome. All right, sorry. Okay, when you're dating someone, you have a really hard breakup conversation, not undermining that. Some of like my worst pain in life was in breakups, but I did not have to go to court, right? And unravel our lives under a judge. But when you're married and you break that, what do you have to do? You have to spend a lot of money and you have to go to court. there's still this categorical singleness. So here's what I'm not saying. When you're dating someone, it's like technically if I'm still single, like I'm not married, then does that mean there's really anything such as cheating? Like, I think that's what a lot of people were thinking about, understandably, when I said when you're dating someone, you are still single. It's like, if you say no, then there's this idea of I can do whatever I want. There's not exclusivity. There's not intentionality. I'm not saying that. Of course, when you start dating someone in your life, you're saying, hey, I'm excited to see where this goes. Who knows? But I want to see where this goes with us. And there's an intentionality, there's exclusivity. When I started dating Kylie, I stopped talking to other girls. Of course, like that's part of this understood sense of like when you begin dating someone, you're now seeing what the potential could be between the two of you. So I'm not saying that at all. But I really think there's some powerful truth here that can help you out. That I think we see in the design of how God created us in relationships, all right? So if dating still in your life falls under this identity category of singleness, right? Because you are not becoming one flesh in a marital union, covenant union before God and before everybody you love. You're not there. So then technically you're in this category of singleness. It helps you navigate dating from the place of that identity, right? Like in our culture, we kind of have this way of dating. As we date longer, there's this sense of like slowly inching closer and closer to like being serious or maybe getting married as you get older. And as you're dating, there's this idea that you start to merge your lives a bit more. You're spending more time together. You're talking to each other about some of the big, hard things and the good things in your life, your hopes, your fears. You begin to merge things maybe physically a little bit or a lot of it. It can be really confusing, but your lives slowly inch and slowly start to come together. And where does that line stop in dating? And where in marriage this set apart of two shall become one flesh? That's what I want to give you a little bit of encouragement on tonight. And when I asked Kylie and was like, hey, I'd like to start dating you, the sense of like she's still in her identity a single person, and I'm still a single person, and we're going to date each other and see what this could all be about. And could it maybe lead to the potential of marriage? And so it was kind of a strange conversation. So I don't know how to bring this up except for just to tell you a bit of my story. And this is our story, Kylie's story, my story when we were dating. And this is our conversation that we had. This is not a formula. This is not me telling you what to do. This is me saying, hey, as I tried to navigate this thing of dating Kylie, but still saying, wait, I am a single person still. What did that look like? It looked like these three conversations that played out in our relationship. So the first thing, like that night, Kylie's like, sure, I'd love to be your girlfriend. And I was like, okay. And I said, there's a couple things, like as I'm decided whenever I date, like there's a couple areas that when two people start dating, things start to move. And one of those areas is like physical stuff. And then emotional connection. And then we're both following Jesus. There's like spiritual stuff. And so I was like, Kylie, I know like we've been dating for all of 30 seconds, but I just need to let you know some of my values in these so that you can just like understand that. And she was like, okay. And so I was like, all right, first physically. And I remember sharing like in past relationships, found myself not really like communicating this much, and it always ended up in a place that I was like, wait, how did this happen? I don't even think I shared that part, but that's what was on my heart. And I was like, hey, I've gotten to a point where I've decided in my life that whoever I date, I'm not going to like progress the dating like to even kissing. Like I decided the next girl I kiss one day will be the girl who I marry. And I'm not trying to say that in like any pressure way. And if it sounds a little rambly now, that's by design because this is how it came out to Kylie a little bit. And I was like, I just am saying this, that I've gotten to a spot in my life where I was like, hey, I can wait on that and I can't wait to get to know you more. But while we're dating, like, I just will not be kissing you or anything past that. And she was like, and okay, and it's a weird thing to bring up, right? Like, talk about like just killing all the anticipation and everything and all of that. But that's not what happened. And I was like, I understand, like, obviously it makes sense. Like, two people start dating, they maybe kiss. If that's a deal breaker for you, I get that. And when I said that, she responded, actually, it was kind of like equally like, whoa. She's like, no, Colin, actually, I appreciate you saying that, because I was going to tell you that just because you're dating me now doesn't mean you have access to my body. And so that's great to know. And it was kind of like a little edgy. And I was like, whoa, all right, sounds great. Like we're excited to get to know each other. But there was a clear value and sense of like that in the area of singleness, I just felt this sense of like, I'm going to let go of that and trust that to God and not inch closer and closer and just stay right here in this small box. And if Kylie's not really on board with that, then that's okay. But she was. She was like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, I'm glad you said something. So I was like, okay, how about one more area, spiritually? And I was like, I know you're following Jesus. I'm following Jesus. And our following of God, I've seen where it can just like get so connected to each other. And I was like, I just want you to know it's not me being like not interested, but I'm not going to be like sitting down and asking like, hey, can we pray together for a while about this? And granted, we had been on 3 dates, had just started dating, so please take this in context. And I was like, I, of course, want to know what you're learning about Jesus, how all that's going, but I'm not going to be like the primary person that is responsible for all of your growth in life. Okay? If some of you are like, I know exactly what I'm never going to do now when I like someone, and that's okay. I'm sharing a bit of my story. So then I was like, all right, we're good to go there. How about one more area? And I was like, emotionally. And I was like, Kylie, you have a story. I have a story. And I think they matter a lot. And I'm excited to get to know you and in the right timing to get to know your story. But I just want you to know that as we're dating, there's not pressure for me, for you to like unpack your whole life. And I just know that in the right time, we'll probably have conversations that matter, but I want you to know there's no pressure on that. And she was like, okay, that sounds great. And so I was like, okay, cool. And then it's that moment of like, I guess I'll drop you off now. And we went home, I dropped her off, and I was thinking, like, I totally messed that up. And I don't think I said things the exact right way, but I think my heart and my intentionality came across. And more than that, she kind of understood a bit of, like, where we stood. And the strangest thing happened, that in our dating, like, we talk often, like, we loved dating that season. There was a simplicity. There was a freedom. And that conversation didn't kind of like make things dull and kind of like expected, like, well, I guess it's not, like there's nothing's progressing, so to say, like that anticipation. It did the opposite. There was a freedom and a fun that was infused in our dating to just be able to get to know each other. And it's like the pressure was off and the anticipation actually built. It was the exact opposite of what I thought would happen. And it's not because of those things I said. I think it's because, like any of us, I was trying to figure out, who is God? What does it mean to follow him? And what does it mean to trust him in every area of my life, including dating? And those were a couple of the things. So I know what you're thinking. Maybe some of you, like, Colin, it's great. That's good. I'm glad that worked out in your story. Now you're married and you have 4 kids. Like, that's great. But I want you to hear that I'm not saying this is what it looks like for every like good young person, young Christian trying to follow God. This is what you do. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just sharing with you a tangible, very real, like honest to heart story in my life of how everything we've talked about in this series actually played out for me. And if you remember this verse in Ephesians 5 that I was telling you, it had a big impact. I took a year off of dating, and this verse just hit me over and over this whole chapter. And it says in Ephesians 2, walk in the way of love. And then I brought you back to 1 Corinthians where it talks about the way of love. Like love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast, is not proud, is not rude. And I was like, whoa, love is patient. Love communicates. And I was like, I'm gonna have a conversation with Kylie up front. And then keep reading here. Just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. And then this sentence, but among you, there must not be even a hint of sexual immorality or of any kind of impurity or of greed, because these are improper for God's holy people. And I could not shake that verse. It finally hit me. It had a hold on me in a good way. That I was like, wait, not even a hint of sexual immorality. It wasn't a behavior thing. It was a deep heart identity thing of like, I don't have to slowly inch closer and closer in our dating and begin to get closer and closer physically and emotionally, and to the point of like, wait, our dating is starting to cave in. It like weighs too much, because dating wasn't meant to carry the weight of two people beginning to really connect their whole lives. Dating is a process to get to know somebody and see what it could all be. And it's still in the singleness category. And I was like, I don't have to inch closer and closer. In fact, not even a hint. Not even a hint. So I was like, what if I just trust God with that? And as I journaled, as I prayed, as I talked to people, I was like, all right, I think I'm just gonna even let go of like wanting to kiss somebody or kissing a girl who I date. Not because that is sexually immoral, and I'll talk about that in just a second, because it's not, but just because for me personally, I was like, wait, not even a hint. And I'm just gonna kind of trust that and let go of that and see what God does. Okay, Emma, you can come on up. Where's Emma at? As Emma starts playing and we begin to close out this series, as I just share with you a little bit of my story, the sense of like, wait, dating is still in this larger category of my life where I'm single. And that actually gives some clarity and freedom and peace. And please, please, please do not hear me wrong tonight. There is zero judgment from me up here on this stage. It looks a lot of different ways. Figuring out dating, figuring out how to say, what does it look like as I'm still in my identity single? How do I go about dating where I'm not finding myself over here closer and closer and closer to the point where there's so much weight on our dating. Our lives are so merged. We're so merged that things are starting to be so confusing. But there's no judgment. I'm here for you. I'm with you. You know, I think about Gabe, who a lot of you know, Gabe Kinsley, who's now our marriage pastor. And retired youth pastor, I guess you could say that. I was actually just talking with him today, but I've talked with him a lot. And he was here as a youth pastor for 19 years. And he's told me over and over again that some of his most profound moments in walking with high schoolers and leaders has been in this area of dating, of walking with students as they fall in love, as they try to ask somebody out, as they feel the weight of it all and open up, as they navigate breakups, as they walk down the aisle with him. It's special. And so my hope is that this can be a place, a community, where you can figure it out. that we can continue this culture that Gabe and leaders over decades cultivated, that this is a place where you can figure it all out. Dating included, a place where you can ask somebody out, go on a date, break up, learn, grow, figure out who you are, figure out who God is. And of course, on this stage, it would be equally goofy if I did not encourage you and say there's a countercultural way to go about dating that can feel so strange, but it can lead to life. There's this verse when Jesus is talking, he talks about how the path of life is small. It's a winding path, and few find it. But the road that leads kind of to ruin or to bummer is wide, and it's paved, and many walk it. And so, of course, up here, I'm going to talk about design. I'm going to talk about my real life, not as a model or a formula, but as a real person who tried to figure this all out. And if you've been here in this series, you've heard a lot of the mistakes that I've made. But I held on to this, and I want you to hold on to this as we close this series. That God created marriage. He created this whole idea. It's beautiful. And really good things happen when you hold on to his design in all this. It can be tough, it can be messy, and it's beautiful. And so know that you're welcome here. Your story is welcome here, right where you're at. Your leaders are here with you. They're for you. Like I said, I'm here with you. I'm for you. It's not weird. It's life. It's good. And so with that, can we bring the house lights down? And can you just see what, and maybe just enter into that place of reflection. Might help if you close your eyes. But I just encourage you for a moment, like, breathe, open up, like who you are, to maybe what God might be doing in your life right now. Like, what might it look like in your own life to lean into this truth? That even when you are dating someone today or in the future, that you are still single in your identity. Again, maybe you're in a relationship right now and you're like, whoa, I realize it's so easy to just get so wrapped up and you're like, dang, I don't have to control the other person's time and who they hang out with. Like, I'm still a single person. They're still a single person. They can hang out with who they want. I don't get to tell them what to do. I don't get to be in charge of that. I can let go of that and just enjoy getting to know them as we're dating. Maybe you're so entwined emotionally in your lives, like you know every single thing that's happening in their family, and it weighs so much, and it's actually starting to weigh too much. And you're like, wait, we have other people, and that's a good thing. And we both need to step into some of those friendships or those other people, siblings, mentors. And we can't only be relying on each other. Or maybe it's the physical stuff, if you're being honest. That you're feeling the sense of, whoa, like it's all confusing. And I don't know if it's gone too far. And it's not bringing like life into dating. It's actually just bringing more kind of weight and confusion, and it doesn't feel right. How do I find a way through? Or maybe some of this tonight brought up like a past dating experience that is like still lingering, that you kind of just wanted to move on from, but it's still kind of with you. And I think God wants to speak into that. I think he wants to speak to you right now. Here's what I do know. I know that God is not looking at you saying, how could you? Like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be patient. You're supposed to wait. I can't believe that. Why would you? No. He's not saying that. Those are lies. I don't know what he's saying to you, but I know this, that God sees you, that he loves you, and that he invites you into relationship with him. And it will change everything. He invites you back to know life and to know it to the full. To accept his grace, to know his forgiveness. Or maybe right now, as you think about dating, you're telling yourself something that I told myself when I was in high school. That there were some things in your past, some hurt, some pain, whether physical or sexual or emotional, and you're thinking what I would thought, I'm damaged goods. No. You are a child of the one true King, of God. Blameless, pure, because of Jesus. And do you believe that tonight? That right here in this spot, in this room, God loves you so much that he sent his one and only Son to planet Earth. And Jesus died on a cross. And then he rose again 3 days later to the throne of heaven, redeeming everything, every mistake, everything broken, the hurt, the pain, the sin. None of that defines you. Do you believe that Jesus took the very worst in every one of us and gave us back himself, his very best? Do you believe that he looks at you and he sees someone who is wonderful, beautiful, pure? Do you believe that everything is on the table for your life? And that you're not meant to walk this path alone? That life happens in the light, it happens in community, healing happens in the light. God's inviting you in. He's here, he's near, he's close. So, Father, I just pray for these students, for these leaders. I pray that they would know that they would believe what you have to say about them, that you love them. And you took our very worst and gave us your very best, and that changes everything. And relationship with you changes everything. And as we try other ways, it ends up leading to the same place. Being alone, isolation, hurt, pain. Father, that you invite us into life with you. And so for anybody tonight feeling your Spirit, God, your leading, I pray that they would not keep that to themselves. that they wouldn't walk alone, that they would walk in the light, that they would know that their leaders are here for them, that I'm here with them, that God, you are right here with them. And they can trust this whole thing of dating and of a life and love and marriage and all of that. They can trust all of that to you. And that you can take it all. You can handle the weight of that. And it's not about trying to go about things perfectly. It's about letting you, God, show up in our lives in very real ways as we follow you more and more. And that has everything to do with dating. And so, God, I pray that these students would not lose hope, that they would hold on to deep hope, that these leaders would hold on to deep hope at the covenant and the idea of marriage, and that you are helping them find a way through life to the full. And that you're with us, you're leading us out into the way everlasting. And so, God, in this worship, in this time of praise, God, I ask that you would come down, you would draw near. And God, may we give you the only thing we can give, which is ourselves. And so meet us here in worship right now. Show up in this space. And may we encounter you.